All right, we are live. 1 second into it. It is December 6th. We are one day away from the Day of Infamy here in the United States, December 7th, 1941, which was a very different day. Always sticks out in my mind. But today we got some pretty rad stuff going on. Joe, you should cover your ears. I'll go over the crypto markets in general so you can pretend that I'm not singling you out. But let's see. Solana's up 5%. HNT's up 39%. That seems like a lot. Bitcoin's up 15%. These are all in the 7-day. Ethereum's up 11%. And fucking Honey is up 132%. And just by saying fuck in the first minute, I probably screwed this whole goddamn thing up. But fuck it. I mean, if you don't like bad words, don't fucking watch this show. All right, there we are. So, I think one cool thing we're going to see is something I've been banging the drum kind of lightly on, but I'll hit a little bit harder. But I think the bull run is starting. I think we're at the very beginning of it. And this is going to be a big thing for DePIN. So, Joey, what's going on, dude? Good to see you.
Hey, yeah, I'm here now. Wasn't here before.
Crushing.
Yeah.
Crushing.
I mean, it's exciting to start seeing people like come back and look at crypto and understand that there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. And obviously, we're right in the center of like the coolest thing, which is this decentralized physical infrastructure space. And I think that's where people, with this Helium Mobile, somebody says no sound. You can hear me.
I can hear you, yeah. I
Okay.
can hear you, okay. Huh.
Hit the little mute button on YouTube.
Algorithm, sour gravy,
but-
no sound. Let's see. No, I mean, I can see that you're coming through. Go ahead and say something.
Yeah, testing.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I don't know what's going on, Algorithm. Thanks for looking out, but I think it's your problem.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, okay. So deep in stuff going a little bit crazy.
Well, yeah. So like Helium Mobile announced yesterday that they're doing a nationwide rollout. Everyone thought they were going to do a next pilot city or something after Miami, right? But this is a nationwide rollout, $20 for unlimited data through Helium Network and the T-Mobile network. So that's a killer deal no matter what way you cut it. And so there's a lot of excitement there.
We might switch over here at the Gristleking household because we've been on Verizon and it just works. And I was like, I don't want to fuck around with a network that may or may not work. But I think our combined phone bill for Lee and I and whatever else we have is something around $200 a month, which is a lot of money. And this thing is like $20 per line. So it's like, maybe I should.
You could pay for yourself and all your friends for that price, right? Like,
yeah. Like everyone on the
crazy
Gristleking crew gets a Helium line.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the super cool thing here is like, $20 feels like the right price, right? $5 felt a little low. You're like, what's going on here?
Yep.
But it was sort of a great like intro point. But
Yep.
On a whole, you can explain decentralized physical infrastructure to anyone with a $20 mobile plan, and they're going to get it. You don't have to talk around DePIN and market making and all the other like crazy stuff that's normally in crypto, NFTs, right? Don't even get me going. And so now you've got something that you can explain in 15 seconds, and it makes sense. And it's like, cool, I could get behind that. And that's why a lot of us got involved in this physical infrastructure space in the first place. So I think we're going to see a lot of folks sort of coming in, starting to see DePIN for the first time. I think we got to be prepared for that, and be ready to explain, what the history is, why we're doing this, like what sort of folks are using it. Like, it still kills me that nobody knows about like Deutsche Telekom hosting an LNS on the Helium network, right? So there's a bunch of really cool things that have happened, and I think we've got a lot of work ahead of us to sort of like keep getting that word out, even if it's sort of old hat for us.
Yeah. No, it is pretty crazy. I was talking to Lee right before the show, and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to post on Twitter. What are you going to talk about?" And basically, this last, I don't know, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, I've been working on this top secret project. Like, I'm not going to fucking talk about it, but it's taken up more hours than any other thing as a single unit has taken up in years. It's like, because most weeks, I mean, I get up at whatever 7 o'clock or something like that, and then I usually go to bed around 11 or 10:30 after working out, and almost all that time is like working, whether it's thinking or walking or reading or writing or posting videos. Like, so I can't really put like an hours per week on it, but for this project, I can probably put like a 40 or 50 hours over the last 7 days, something like that, 6 to 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it is entirely focused on what will be happening in the DePIN space over the next, and really the crypto space over the next, whatever year, whatever it is, because we all saw what happened last time and how crazy it got. And so this is basically a tool to help kind of manage some of that craziness. And I'd love to fucking say more about it, but parts of it, like, you just can't fucking talk about, and parts of it are not quite finished yet. And so I'm just fucking.
I want to quiz you about it, but I'll be nice, because I've seen pictures of FPGAs and all sorts of crazy stuff that you're working on. So
Yeah. No, that just got sent to me out of the blue. I mean, I got that. I also got that crazy Skynet thing from a buddy of mine. Just dropped off like one of the original helium hotspots, like before they're even helium hotspots. It's just like this thing that looks like a red board with a spider of antennas. And Amir's like, how the fuck did you get that? Yeah.
You can still buy those. They're on DigiKey. I think they've probably just got a crate of them somewhere. And they're like 20 or 30 bucks. I don't know what I would do with one, but
that was the thing. It's like this guy dropped it off and he's like, hey, he's basically getting out of helium. He's moving, and he's a really neat dude. In the heyday of helium, he was doing these off grids, and I don't condone this, so don't fucking put words in my mouth, audience, but he would go out in the mountains and bury his hotspots. And we had these arguments. I was like, dude, you don't need to do that. It's going to get the thing too hot. It's a huge pain in the ass. And he's got these epic stories of him. He worked with, I think, one or two other guys, and they would do like these just missions to fucking get these out in the mountains and to hide them. And I'm like, you still have to put the solar panel up. You still have to put the antenna up. Like, it seems a little bit silly, but they had this whole like cart they'd bring out with shovels, and they'd drag this thing up trails. And it was like, they were just doing, I mean, I like to work. Those guys were just doing way more work than I thought was necessary. So he's ended up, and then he's got this other picture that I don't think we'll ever see the light of day, but I can describe it to you pretty safely. Him and his like deployment buddy flew out to another state, and he's got this like, they're doing some super sway shit. They're just climbing any tower they saw, and he's got this fucking great video of his buddy climbing a tower. This is all unauthorized stuff, and this is part of what kind of gave helium a little bit of a bad name, but I thought it was so funny. And as you zoom out, you see there's this dude with a backpack climbing some random pole somewhere in the middle of whatever, America. And he's probably 150 feet up and just like climbing and gets to the top.
Solo.
Puts the thing up, and you're just like, dude, people were doing bananas things in the middle of the last craze, and they're going to do it again, right? It may not be helium. I think helium has learned a bunch of good lessons, but the drive that crypto can put on people is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So
there was some wild stuff. I definitely tried to turn a blind eye to some of those.
Yeah. I mean, people would
like, it's like, boy, that is short-sighted. But
yeah. People would write me like, hey, check out this deployment that's illegal on sale. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. And we've certainly all been tempted, and we saw them. Like, I don't know if you remember seeing the ones pop up in the media in Utah a while ago. Like, stations popping up all over the hills. What's going on? I remember that guy, the announcer, called
mystery hardware.
Yeah. The journalist called me, and he's like, hey, can you comment on this? And at first I was like, yeah. And then I was like, no, I don't want to touch that, because some asshole's going to accuse me of doing all that. And I didn't do any of those. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, on to happier stuff.
Always appreciated that you talked to people, because it's much more legit way to do it.
Yeah. Let's see. So I looked on Google Trends about this crazy run up. I didn't see anything, but I bet Google Trends is usually a little bit behind. So I'm guessing next week we're going to see a lot more kind of searches for DePIN on Google. Is my guess. My mom sent me a thing on the Bitcoin ETF. So it's like, all right, when my mom is sending me this stuff, it's like the cabbie signal.
Right.
It's like you're starting to get advice from your cabbie. It's like, all right, things are happening. Yeah. What else is going on, dude?
Something. Yeah. Some good numbers. But well, I mean, in other news, I guess the can't overshadow the Helium Mobile outdoor hotspots also out there now. And so the indoor hotspots, the Wi-Fi ones, have been around for a minute.
That was
And
the
I've
one that
actually
shipped
got
with the Pi?
that.
The indoor one, right?
The indoor. Oh yes, literal Pi,
Like the hot
like
Pi one.
Raspberry
Yeah,
Pis.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, that one shipped with the Pi. I've got one set up in downtown Oakland here, and I've actually had random data transfer through it.
Yeah.
So I think it's somebody like driving. It's kind of on a busy street,
Mm-hmm.
and people are probably just like roaming onto it with Spotify, whatever else. And it's pretty cool to see, given the like the Helium Mobile subscriber numbers aren't astronomic yet.
Yeah. They're not
so
competing with Verizon yet.
Yeah, so there's stuff happening there. Unless it's some bug, who knows right now, right? But
Yeah.
it's super cool for me to see some data transfer happening when I'm definitely not around.
Very cool, dude. And we're
Yeah.
having stuff. I mean, it's funny we're talking about Helium Mobile now, which has always been something that it didn't catch my interest in the way LoRaWAN did. But I'm getting stuff on the LoRaWAN side. I sent you an email. We talked a little bit about this this week. This dude, he's got a for-profit business. I'm going to see if I can get him on the State of the Network.
Hopefully he gets back to me, because that thing he's doing today, I think.
Was it? I thought it was Tuesday of next.
Oh, that was yesterday. Yeah,
well,
my bad.
Maybe you already did.
Well, I did respond to him.
Yeah, I saw it. So for background, this guy had he's using weather balloons, and he's got a for-profit business. Like, it's not some kind of magical thing where he's like, oh, I'll try this out. Like, he's got a business where he goes to schools and universities. He's like, hey, I can send up weather balloons pretty cheaply. He was using all satellite satcoms, Iridium stuff. Discovered helium, found the Gristleking channel, and like learned a bunch of stuff here, and then found the Medio Scientific thing. He still hadn't switched over to 𝐒𝐻𝐸. He was still on like the Helium console when I talked to him. This is last week, but the dude was so fired up about it. He's like, this is amazing. And he was showing me all this data about how helium is tracking his weather balloons. And I was like, dude, you got to talk to Matthew.
Yeah.
Who did his
Star Watcher.
PhD on this. Yeah, Star Watcher. Who did his PhD on this. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll go check that out. He said, I think I saw that video at like my lowest point when I couldn't get anything to work, and it like inspired me to keep going. And he must have given the presentation by now. If today's Wednesday, yesterday was Tuesday. But he's giving a presentation to kind of whatever his community is, whatever the thing was. And he flew out from, I think he's in the Midwest somewhere, flew out to San Francisco to give this presentation and telling people about helium and saying like, look, I can track my packages better with helium than I can with iridium. It's cheaper. And I guess this is a thing with weather balloons, is they go up, or whatever, these space balloons, they go up and you can track them because it's smooth the whole time. The balloon is just sitting there and the thing's hanging underneath it. And then when the balloon bursts, or whatever it is that happens, I'm imagining it burst, the thing starts to tumble as it falls. And in that tumbling, typically, I guess the satellite communications don't hit it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
That hits the helium network super smoothly. So he's like, I'm seeing data I never saw before, and it's through just by using helium. And I can show you the difference. Here's the satellite, here's with helium. Like, you see this really smooth curve on helium, and on the satellite it's all jagged because you just miss, the 7 minutes of freefall data. So,
not to mention, I have to imagine the power requirements for an iridium connection are a lot higher. And that means you can do a smaller battery. And those balloon folks, they are cutting, they're like shaving corners off PCBs to like cut weight.
And he was psyched on that too. He had a really cool system where, and it makes total sense. He basically goes down to the U.S. Postal Office. He buys like the prepaid packages. He puts everything inside the package, so inside the envelope, and then he puts the envelope in a Ziploc bag, and he puts a $5 bill on the outside of the envelope, and then attaches the envelope to the balloon. So that
cool.
Whenever it catches up, someone sees $5, and they're like, oh, cool. And there's a little note there that says like, hey, keep the $5. Can you just drop this thing in the mail? And it's like, really cool ways of thinking of this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that is one of the concerns. I've talked to some balloonists before. I don't know if that's what you call them, but
ballooneers,
there's all these concerns of like, don't use Mylar balloons because they are bad for sea life and all this other stuff. And like, there is definitely a consciousness of like littering. And so you have these things that pop and fall back to Earth. Who knows where, right?
Oh, that's savage.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Yeah.
That's the
Set each other
Malinois
off.
pack killing.
Yeah. We're watching a dog this week, so got a
Okay.
little extra chaos in the house.
Nice.
But yeah, I love that. Like throw $5 on there. Somebody finds it. It's less of a like, man, what's this litter doing on my property? And it's like, oh, now I see there's like this story here, and I get $5 out of it. It's like,
Yep.
that's cool.
Yep. And I think we'll also see is like shared dashboards where it's like, hey, you see this litter in your tree? Like, do you want to see where it came from and what it collected? Like, go check out this dashboard.
Oh, that'd be cool too. Throw a QR code on there straight to the dashboard.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's super cool. Leah's been wanting to send a unicorn into space, so she's got this little stuffed unicorn she wants to put in a space balloon. And when I told her about this, she's like, "Oh, got to call that guy and get him to help us with the unicorn in space thing for paleo treats." So
I've got some balloon. Like Matthew talked me through the whole process of balloon stuff. You know, he's so smart. He can like explain it Eli 5 style, so you get it right.
Yeah.
So I've got all the stuff minus the basically like if you go and buy hydrogen from a balloon party store, there's actually a bunch of other stuff mixed in there, and you don't get as much lift out of it.
Yep.
So you have to go to like a welding supply shop and get like the good stuff, and then you're good to go. And that's the only thing I haven't done. Otherwise, I've got I think everything here to go launch something.
I think what should also be a part of those is a spark igniter at like 80,000 feet for the hydrogen. So it's like, all right, it hits 80,000, it fucking sparks, the whole thing blows up. You get some like badass thing that you can fucking track on a telescope. It's like, hell yeah, explosions in the sky. It's not the Chinese, that's me, baby.
You're just trying to get that press article about you. I get you.
Yeah. Super cool. I'm trying to think of what else is on the balloon side. We may just stuff a unicorn full of sensors. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Just see what happens. So yeah, that's kind of cool with helium. I haven't done a bunch of stuff. I think we passed. It was a December 5th deadline for. Was it Nova had a dedicated console, and they were like, "Hey, if you don't move your stuff off, it'll be gone or something."
Yeah, I haven't kept a super close eye on that.
Okay.
We keep like a pretty good separation of orgs there.
Yep.
But I believe they kicked that back a little bit. And this is in favor of bringing additional functionality to Helium Packet Router to deliver the hotspot location alongside.
That's right. We didn't
payload.
talk about that, but I think that happened last week, and I don't know. Oh, we had the Helium community call, so I missed it last week.
Mm-hmm.
But like this new location thing's a big deal.
So it's a super handy for anyone doing like some sort of asset tracking or things like that using the hotspot location. And so, TrackPack's a big one doing stuff like that. They've got their multilateration software. So yeah, the migration would have been really painful for some of those orgs that were doing that stuff, because otherwise you have to figure out how to do all that in JERPStack or whatever LNS you're using.
Yep.
So yeah, I think they bought a little bit of extra time for folks, but otherwise I think that's mostly complete at this point.
Yeah, I've got to migrate my last couple off there. I've just been putting it off because it's like, it's been lower priority. But I saw this last week. A bunch of people bought credits on the MetSci console, and I was like, why am I getting these emails about people buying credits? And it's like, oh yeah, because Nova's shutting their shit down. So, which is great. I mean, I pushed for that most of the summer. Like, hey, we shouldn't be having these free things if you're wanting businesses to work.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and speaking of removing free things, I'm going to publish a HIP this week around Foundation Console. Remind me if we've talked about this. I've talked
Breaking
about it
news.
a couple of venues. But
Here we go.
Yeah. So yeah, this is new stuff. But you brought up this a while ago. It's like Foundation Console is like totally subsidized. It makes it impossible for anyone to go stand up a parallel business. When why would you, right? And there's some unfortunate things that sort of fall out of a subsidized business, right? Like Foundation was the platform was covering the credit card fees. Like if you put $10 in, you got $10 out. If you et cetera, et cetera. So we started seeing abuse of credit cards. We started seeing all sorts of things. And ultimately, this is why we can't have nice things. We locked the new sign up on that platform. Yeah. So kind of a big bummer because it was a nice tool for the community. It was limited to 10 devices. The future of that is it's going to stay locked. You will not be able to go create new devices there. However, in lieu of that, so part of keeping it locked and not just shutting it down is like, I don't want to rug everyone's devices that are set up there. That'd be
Yep.
a huge pain. There's a bunch of people that have done really cool stuff, and we want to continue supporting that. But in lieu of that, like, it's on the foundation side, education, access, like those are super important pieces for us. So what we're going to do is introduce this proposal that lets us run data transfer. Helium Foundation has 3 net IDs. So this is the sort of the area code on a phone number of a LoRaWAN address. We have one that's really small. It's called a type 6 net ID, and that allocates just a certain amount of space for devices. We can use that one, and we can configure Helium Packet Router to not reward hotspots for the data transfer that happens there. And furthermore, it wouldn't bill the LNS for the data transfer that's happening there. So what you can do is you can go onboard a device, you can try it out, and there's no gaming vector because you can't push data through your hotspots and get rewarded in tokens and spam credit cards and all that other stuff. And so this proposal will say, let's do this on the Helium Foundation Type 6, and then we will stand up a new instance that lets people onboard devices and lets them run them for a week, try things out, play around with the system, and then it shuts it down, blocks that device for 2 weeks. And so, nobody's going to go and take advantage of this to run devices for long periods of time. But that's kind of the goal going forward. And then we can offer that as a service so that, you can point people like, hey, go try out your thing over here. Seed, all these folks that are doing a lot of education, a lot of like dev boards and things like that. Like they need somewhere to put folks.
Yeah, so you should sell advertising. Like when it comes up, I'll buy a little bit of advertising and say, hey, come on over to 𝐒𝐻.
Oh, ad space. There we go. Oh, well, actually, one detail there. Foundation Console is linked all over the web, right? So there's all these guides that say, go create a device on Foundation Console. We need to redesign that page. And one of the pieces of that is to take the list of LNS operators that's currently on docs, and that'll get copied over to Foundation Console's homepage. So it'll immediately act as an index of like, hey, this platform, no more. But you can go over here and go deploy your devices and all of that other fun stuff. So
No, I'll go up against Seed and ad spend. That'll be super easy for me.
Yeah, I got to pitch that to 𝐒𝐻. Maybe he's into the ad business. We can get going on that.
Yeah. It'd be a funny thing to do. Yeah, super cool to see that going down. I like the, I like the updates and what's going on. Like you got to make sure that you're not having gamers on there.
And this is part of it too. And this is one of the things that I really enjoy about the Helium project is like we're really, really here for the utility. And so like, sure, we could have gamers on console or whatever, and it pumps the numbers and it looks like we've got all this crazy traffic. But we spend so much time fighting to get to that real number. And I hope that comes through for the community because it's something that I really respect about the process here. But, part of shutting the credit card nonsense down is that we saw a dip in data credit usage. But hopefully with that done, we are at much more of a realistic understanding of traffic on the network.
You got to cut out the cancer, man. You see those people like giant fucking tumors on them, and it's like, yeah, that's more body mass, but that tumor is not super helpful. You got to cut that shit out. So,
yeah, because it's going to keep growing, and it's going to get to a point where down the road they finally shut the thing off, and it's like, what did we have, right? And so getting that sooner gives us a much better understanding of the fundamentals and what we're trying to build toward.
Let's see. I think the other thing we might have missed last week by not being on, and maybe they got covered it on the community call. I was like, thank God. It's like I like coming on and talking to people. I like doing the public stuff, but it's also nice every so often to back off. So they may have hit this and I missed it, but I did see the giant piece of news was Abai's scarf appeared to be 400 to 500 meters long. When he and Scott and a couple other folks went out to basically Capitol Hill to the White House and been like, "Hey, you guys should know about helium." So that was kind of cool to see that we're getting some advocacy on that side.
Yeah. Yeah. So a little backstory there. We partner up with Solana Foundation. There's the Blockchain Association, if I'm getting that correctly. And so on our side, we had our GC and then Scott and Abai come out. And
GC is general counsel for all the
yes, sorry,
all those of you who are not legal beagles.
Yep, fun times. So it sounds like the conversations went really well, and it's really about getting out there and like saying like, hey, crypto's not all a scam, right? Like you may have seen this in the media, but like your neighbor's got a hotspot set up and they provide coverage and they build businesses and like this is part of the infrastructure of your country. Like get behind it. And it sounds like it was really, really well received. So there's going to be more conversations like that. But it's really exciting to be able to be a part of that narrative. We see initiatives from Coinbase and all these other folks like write your legislator, tell them what's going on. Totally put out a great post yesterday. It's like, sign up for Helium Mobile, set up a hotspot, write your legislator, say that you've got a 5G tower that you set up totally permissionlessly as part of this overall network, and tell them why you're excited about it. And like there's a lot of stuff that like everyday folks can do to sort of help this whole narrative along.
Yeah, and if you need help writing it, go to ChatGPT.
Yes, I mean, why wouldn't you? Yeah. You just need to be your voice just needs to be out there. So
yeah. No, it's been a funny thing. We've been totally separate. We've been applying for a bunch of small business grants for paleo treats, and as we go through them, it's like, okay, they're asking for this. We'll write up our answer, and then we'll run the answer through ChatGPT as well as the grant requests, and just say, hey, does our answer appear to adequately address the request they're making? And that's been super helpful because it's like, oh, you didn't talk about this, but you did talk about this. Here's how you should redo that. So.
Yeah, it's cool. Sometimes you do that, and it'll pull out insights that you didn't even see. It's like, oh wait, I did do really cool stuff that touches on those things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yep. No, I've been working a lot with it this week, and there's been a cool insight for me is that up until recently, and this will only get kind of better and better. But up until recently, like if you couldn't speak a language, you couldn't speak a language. But at this point in human history, if you can speak one language well and you can organize your thoughts well, those are kind of the two requirements. You can communicate in any other language. So, and that language can be Chinese, can be French, it can be Python. It doesn't matter. With ChatGPT, as long as you can clearly articulate in your language what you want to have happen, it will translate that into any language you want. So it's really like a wide opening of the world.
There's a really cool piece in there too that other translators just can't do, which is if it's English but written as a second language, there's going to be a lot of like just unaccustomed parts of it, right?
Yep.
And one of the really cool things I've done is taken text like that and say like this is English, but it's written by a German native speaker. Like, help me understand this as an English speaker. And it's just like, boom. And it's like, takes the blinds off and you're like, oh, I get it. Okay, cool. And you can have an actual conversation in sort of that fluid way now.
Yeah. Yes, it is a truly incredible thing. Been super cool. So Keenan, what's going on? I saw you just popped in. Yeah. The universal translator, Kevin. So
I think Keenan was up all night watching the value of his Mad Lad NFT. So he's probably tired.
Are the Mad Lads up now?
Yeah.
I'm not like an NFT guy. There's some Gristleking NFTs floating around somewhere. And I think they give you access to stuff on the Gristleking server, the Discord server, that you would normally have. But I'm not really sure what to do.
Wow, I'm missing out. I got to get myself a GK NFT so I can see the cool stuff.
At the peak of it, I think they're selling for 0.1 ETH. Was that right? Or 0.01? I didn't sell that many. Like I missed the peak of it, and I made it so that when you bought one, you got a month of the Gristle crew, and then you got access to the courses. And I've now removed the courses entirely, so those are deleted. They're not even like not accessible. They're just gone because all the information was so outdated. I was like, oh, this is not not doing a service.
Nick,
people.
it's this classic rug.
Yeah. I rugged people on helium courses that are no longer applicable. So
yeah.
Biohazard, with the price of HNT going up, will miners come back online? Yeah, I don't know. Like, here's the thing, and Joey, this has clearly nothing to do with you. If you need to feed your dog right now, that's totally fine. But look, there's a pie of HNT, and that pie of HNT has value that can be determined in two ways, like how much of it you get and how much that slice that you get is worth to you. And what we're seeing is these kind of two things worked against the adoption and incentivization of people to use kind of HNT to drive them to do things in the real world for the past probably year. As the slices of the pie got thinner and thinner, and as the value of HNT to people dropped low and lower, it became less and less important to deploy. But as the slices get bigger, as less people are on the network, right? We at a high, I think I ran the stats for this. The most we ever had on the network was somewhere around 600,000 hotspots. I haven't looked in the last 2 weeks, but I think the last time I looked it was around 250,000. And maybe it's higher or lower, but and then we went over the numbers at the beginning of the show. I can drop them in the chat here, but crypto's up. So as those slices for people get bigger, and the value to humanity or to the public, I think these are pretty close. No, it doesn't format correctly. Cool. Well, that's super fucking hard to read. Good luck figuring that shit out. But yeah, I think to Biohazard's thing, yeah, I think we're in a place, and to Keenan's piece, and yeah, I think we're in a place where a lot of new people are going to be onboarding.
Yeah. So. One thing I'll say on hotspots just generally is through the last year or so, the one thing that has been fairly constant is like coverage in cities has not gone away. The density in cities has gone away. And that's effectively the reward scale mechanism in action. If you had 90 hotspots in downtown San Francisco, they would be a reward scale of 0.01. Yep. And it's like, yeah, you don't earn anything with that. And that's kind of the way the system was designed. And it was frustrating for folks that didn't know the intricacies of that. Yeah. But it did work. Generally speaking, like I do still see coverage in the more rural areas. Like if you go drive up, California coast, you're hitting hotspots all along the way. It's pretty cool.
Get that mapper out.
Oh, I'm mapping all the time. Yeah. A buddy of mine was just...
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, a buddy of mine just took one out on a boat in LA, and it's all over it's cool to see.
Yeah, it's super cool. Do you have a 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐻, Joey?
I don't. No. Never picked one up.
Those are pretty cool. They're coming out with some functionality I just got a sneak peek at that's pretty rad. So if you're in the kind of LoRaWAN business, they're probably the best LoRaWAN field tester out there, and definitely worth kind of checking out. I've got some affiliate code somewhere, but fucking A, just look up like 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐻 and buy it from them, and if I get nothing for it, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, find that affiliate code.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Slavin builds a ton of really cool software. So yeah, it's a very well featured device.
Yeah.
I have not had a chance to play with one in person.
Okay. Huh. I've got one. Maybe I'll send it up to you if you want to. If you're looking like, oh yeah, I totally like to check that out. And there are some of the parts that are coming allow us to, use it in new ways, which would be cool. Keenan, Demon macarons should be arriving sometime soon. I saw those guys shipped on the WeatherXM side, because this is now state of the networks. We've been talking about Helium, but there are other networks out there. WeatherXM stuff had a really interesting kind of discussion this week, where we're in winter and these weather stations in a couple places froze up, right? The rain came down, it's super cold, froze the station, the anemometer, the wind cup stopped spinning, the wind vane froze. So now they're no longer reporting the correct wind speed or direction, and they're not earning data because they're not reporting it. And some folks in the community were super pissed. They're like, hey, I bought this thing to earn tokens, and it's not earning tokens, and it's not my fault that it's not earning tokens. And so there's this pretty kind of nuanced discussion around it that's the easiest way to understand it is it's like moving to Vermont and getting super pissed that your heating bills go up. It's like, yeah, you fucking moved to Vermont, man. If you move to Florida, you got a different problem. And it's not like I mean, that's not the nicest way to say it, but it's really interesting watching the WeatherXM team and helping them, frankly, because they're a client of ours, go through those discussions and saying, like, look, there are new discussions that are new conversations that are happening with all these projects, whether it's HiveMap or WeatherXM or Helium or you name it, that are introducing people to technology in different ways. So pretty cool to see all that stuff going down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you prevent a weather station from freezing up. Like, that's par for course, I think.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
there's going to be hiccups right away, right? Like the demo devices are going to be the first generation, like all that stuff, and there's going to be learnings, and people will improve around it. Like, I think they've sold a ton of those devices, so hopefully there's like a really great, base of folks that are supporting those.
Badass. Yeah. I mean, I look at this stuff as, and this is like giving away a little bit of the secret sauce in the community management side, which is what companies are hiring us for. But it's like, hey, if you can educate your community that the thing they are joining is not like a perfect bullet train that is air conditioned, that is speeding down the tracks and it will arrive at its destination plus or minus 3 seconds. It's not that. Like, you're getting on a fucking hot air balloon that can be on fire at times, that has like less reserve parachutes than there are people on the balloon, and it's going like rad places, but it's not like, you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to go. The winds are going to blow it this way and that. And all you know is that you've got a competent kind of team steering the balloon. And that's, if you're in for that adventure, DePINs are super fun. Bring your own reserve kind of thing. Bring your own reserve parachute, and then you can have a good time. If the whole thing blows up, you pop off, pop shoot, and go down, get down to land safely. But a lot of people, I think, not a lot of people, like the folks who are complaining the most, basically like got on the plane or got on the balloon, walked right past the sign that said, "Make sure you have a parachute." And now that the thing is not doing what they wanted, and it said no parachute, no expected time of return. It's like a Shackleton's ad. Men wanted for hazardous journey, long hours of unending darkness, small wages, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success.
Terrible conditions. Yeah.
Like that's what you're signing up for with these DePINs. And if you like that shit, super fun. Like, Shackleton's journey is legendary, but it's not a bullet train.
And it's also the responsibility of the network, like whoever's running the thing, to be transparent. Let people know what's going on, like not pretend like you're jumping into a sports car, right? Like, or the bullet train. So yeah, I think that transparency, that inclusiveness that goes along with being open is really important.
Yeah. I think framing it like, hey, you're an adventurer, you're signing on for an adventure. It helps people see like, oh, cool, like I could do some adventuring, right? Because adventuring is in the human spirit. We have this gene, DRD7-4R, that has been linked to this kind of adventurous penchant. So it gets turned on more for some people and less for others, but it's there.
That's what gets people strapping hotspots to their back and climbing towers.
Yeah. Going batshit crazy. And funnily enough, I read an article on that gene in National Geographic years ago, and I went and bought the website, and I'm like, someday I'm gonna fucking do something with DRD7-4R.com. Right now, maybe not, but like it's there in all of us, and so just reminding people kind of what they're doing with the project they're a part of. It's like, hey, you're not going to a bank and getting a 2% APY on your money, or 1 point, whatever the fuck it is right now. You're strapping into some crazy shit here.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good narrative to have. We, in the heyday of folks deploying gateways, there was so many of those TikToks and stuff like that of like, buy this thing, get rich, and that's a hard narrative, because everyone sitting in the community, the Discord, it's like, your earnings are going down. Like, we kept trying to say that, like, the more hotspots come online, the more that gets divided up. But that wasn't the narrative that was making it to TikTok.
No, you
People are
don't need to
trying
be
to get
James
clicks
Clerk
and
Maxwell
views.
to do the math. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
So
good.
cool.
Yeah,
But that's
we'll try our best to hedge expectations, right, as we talk about the projects we're into and all
yeah.
of that.
Yeah, and I think the other part of this, and this is part of this project I've been working on. In fact, Keenan, if you're still watching, I'll do a demo for you and Joey after this if you guys have time of this thing, because I think it could be used for, well, it's built to be used for any DePIN project. Is we are not going to be able to stop the TikTok masses, right, or whatever it is. Like, it's going to happen again. You're going to get people for whatever reason, and most likely, to be totally frank, it's motivated by greed or by sales. Is they're going to get some affiliate code for some miner, and they're going to push it super hard, and they're going to make $1 million, and individual miners aren't going to make shit. Like, that's going to happen again. And so the kind of preparation and management of the influx of those users is going to be critical to the capturing the opportunity that's coming down the pipe in the bull run. Right. So for any kind of founders, and I think it's not so many founders that watch this. I think there are more folks who watch DePIN State who are founders, but you guys who are watching this are generally users. If you know of projects where you'd see them not getting ready for that, tell them to come talk to me, because I'll help them out with that. I mean, I think that's critical for the big picture of DePIN overall and crypto overall as we go through this next thing. Is look, we could have another. Who are the triumvirate of people who've been fucking shot down on these exchanges? CZ, and who's the guy before him, Sang Bankman, and like all these people who are like, oh yeah, I wasn't cheating. Like, oh shit, hey, I was actually cheating the whole time. Like, it's not really healthy for us to get a couple more of those. Fundamentally the idea is sound, so we can stand an infinite number of those, but it just gets harder and harder to push past that shit every time it happens. And so there's just like this huge responsibility on community management side for the next crypto run, is like, hey, make sure you see what's coming down the pipe and manage that crazy flow, because it's going to be a pretty muddy river that flows through your house.
Yep.
So,
and yeah, take advantage of Keenan and our community management team who've spent the last 3 years figuring out what bots to load and how to manage swarms of scams and all that other stuff. Like, yeah, use the lessons. Right? Oh yeah, good. Alex.
yeah. God bless.
I've got some locked up Celsius stuff.
I keep getting emails like, hey, your Celsius is something or other, but I think we had kind of like $100 or $200 in there. So it's like, I don't think that is worth me going after. It's probably worth 10 cents now.
Right. Yeah. See what you ever get back.
Yeah. Not much. Let's see. I think the other thing might be, Joey, and I just thought of this, so this is not a well-formed thought, but it might start to be important to kind of start banging the not your keys, not your crypto drum, and saying to people, hey,
well,
go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. One of the really cool things that is starting to take hold, and this isn't just Helium Mobile, but this is like other wallets on other chains, is this idea of like sign in with your Google account. We have secure ways of storing your keys. Like, still not your keys, not your crypto, like trust it as much as you would any other thing.
Yep.
But for most folks who lose their crypto, it's because they lost their keys. It's not because somebody they entered them into some wrong website. Like, most of my family members and stuff like that I've set up with hotspots are like, I entered my keys and I didn't see anything. It's like, well, the words were wrong, like whatever kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's a big leap to go from like username password to like this 24-word thing that has to be entered in a very exacting way. So I think that some of those UX pieces, like, we're starting to see some nice movement there. And it hopefully helps with this sort of round of interest.
Yeah. And I think we may do a thing. I may just have a couple of these companies come on and we'll talk about it briefly, but like, there are different ways of storing your keys that offer better and worse outcomes and options. Whether you put it on paper or metal or whatever, store it in the fucking DNA of water or whatever crazy shit's coming up. It's like, yeah, just just think about that and what happens. Well, like what's the outcome when the worst thing happens when, you wrote them down on your whiteboard and the cleaner cleans your whiteboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever your silly thing is that you do.
Yeah, the post-it note on the backside of your monitor that you forgot about and you put on Craigslist. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
So I think doing that might just be generally useful as we get more and more people come in, and maybe we do like a little welcome segment on this thing. Like, hey, if you're new to crypto, this is what we do. Because at this point,
Totally.
like everybody watching is, we got, 20 people on here. Like it's still a small thing. I know for a fact in, whatever it is, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty goddamn sure that in 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it is, there'll be 100, 200, 300 people on here. It won't be anything that we do like sprinkling magic dust. It'll just be a lot more people are going to want to know what the fuck is going on. And I think this place will be a pretty good place to figure it out.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we got to start cutting more little segments to sprinkle around. You gotta get on the TikTok train is what you got to do.
Dude, Max is getting on it. It's super cool. So, and this is all for like DePIN State. Is he's so funny with it? He found something where the interview tech that we use, Riverside, will give you TikTok clips, and it goes through. So this stuff is really interesting to me as kind of like an ad marketing guy. Which is what I've done a little bit of in the past, is you do it like we'll do a 15-minute interview on whatever. Riverside will go through and it will say, hey, I think these 3 clips of 60 or 30 seconds each are your best clips, the most likely to be shared. And I looked at those clips and I'm like, dude, they're garbage. Like they start halfway through an idea, they cut off at the end of the next idea. Like I would never put this out. This is not like how you efficiently transfer information. And Max, bless his fucking amazing brain, is like, no, you idiot. That's what you want on TikTok. You want people to feel like they missed out the first part, they're missing out the last part. They should go watch the whole thing.
One of the weird things that I learned when I was doing marketing stuff is putting a typo in like a banner ad or something.
Yeah.
Just skyrockets your click-through rate. Like,
it's crazy. Like there's all
so
kinds
dumb.
of stuff. Yeah. It's and then
you got to rage bait people with like the wrong there or something like that, and then you're
you get them in, and then you have to watch the whole thing. I think, and I wonder if this is going to come back. Remember the YouTube like crazy eyes? So I would do this a little bit, and then I was just like, I just don't look at statistics enough for this to matter. But you take the picture where it's like, oh my god, and then you fucking cut out around it, and you put bright colors and outlines, and people click on that like crazy. And it's just like, fuck it. I'm just going to put out good content. I'm going to be here for the long term. I'm not going to worry about like these short-term trends. I'll fuck around with them and have fun because it's easy on Canva, but
no. It's a wild, we struggle with this all the time. Like trying to just get the information out there. You can write the docs, you could write the announcements and all of that, but getting people to like take the time to like ingest and understand it, that's the whole other piece. So there's some magic to it.
The
magic critical for that. But
I think it comes down to like how do people learn or imbibe information? They read it, they watch a video, they listen to audio, they do they do it. So I think that's the thing. Let's see what's going on in comments so we can probably wrap this up, and then I'll ping you and Keenan, and we'll do this little mini demo of this thing. All right, explain to Derek what Celsius was. Derek, I'll give you guys, the Gristle crew will get a demo of this tool next week. We've been talking about it the last 2 weeks. Don't fucking say what it is. But yeah, we'll do a demo of it because I just got the thing working last night. I got the very first part of it, and I called my buddy who got me into, who helped me in my very first helium hotspot, right when the DIYs came out. I had just found it because I was looking for the paraglider. Like everyone's heard that story. I think everyone's heard that story. And we were putting a hotspot up on the roof. The DIY thing had opened. Travis had given us an alpha key back when he was working for helium. And me and this guy got alpha keys. And I was like, dude, I don't know what to do with this thing. And he, drove down 40 minutes from his house, came down to my house. He told me what to buy. I had like the Raspberry Pi, like everything. I was like, it was all magic to me. I didn't know how any of this shit worked. I didn't know about PoE. I didn't know about Bash. Like nothing. I was fucking happy if I could make words bold or italic on Word. And I watched him what I know now is he was just following directions. Like for him, and now for me, like it wasn't that magical. It's like, oh, you copy paste this thing in. Here's the curl command to download all this shit, and then you run this other thing. Like it was nothing crazy. But he introduced me to this world of like, oh, if you just know the right commands for your fucking computer, whatever it is, Raspberry Pi, Mac, etc., you can get it to do these things. And so that was in August, September of 2020. Here we are, December 2023. And I called him last night and I was like, dude, check this out. And I sent him a screenshot and he goes, what the fuck is that? And I told him what it was, and he's just like fucking mind blown. And I get on the phone with him, and he's like, dude, where'd you find that? Who built that? That thing's amazing. I'm like, I built that fucking thing, dude. I built that thing. It's like, it's so rad, cool. The amount of information that's out there and like what you can do with it. And then just like thinking through how to do good with that information. So I went off fucking top there.
I'm real excited now. Yeah.
I'm pretty excited. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, I think we're pretty caught in the chat. Okay, cool. Dude, I'll look forward to seeing you next week. I'll do a little bit better job on making like an intro, because I think we have to be really conscious of new folks coming into this thing, cool. And helping them on board, whether they come into Helium or HiveMap or WeatherXM or Wi-Fi DAB or whatever else the rest is that's going down. So
yeah, I think I got to get some content out there that's just like welcome. Tell a good little, while you were gone, this is what's happened in the past 3 years.
Cool. Dude, if there's anything I can do to help, like that'd be super fun. Maybe we fly up and do like some cool thing. We should go find, and it won't be that hard, find Jameson in his crab pots and be like, hey dude, let's go do a video in your crab pots. So
let's get him. Let's go out in the bay. I've gone on a couple fishing trips out there, not with Jameson, but boy, it's fun. Till you get seasick, and then you're wrecked for the rest of the day.
Not as fun. Yeah. I used to get on, I think that's called meclizine. It's like a sleeping and seasickness thing, I think is the name of the drug. And so in my very limited time riding ships in the Navy, I think I was in the Navy 5 years, and I was on a ship for 13 days out of that time. But I would call it getting into the meclizine time machine, because on the ship there was nothing for us to do. Like that wasn't our job. So I get in the ship, you get shown to your quarters, and I just have a fucking bottle of these meclizine pills, and I take one, and it puts you to sleep and no seasickness. I'd wake up, I'd go eat, I'd go lift, and then I go back down, take another meclizine, and fucking sleep I think I slept from like Japan to Korea or something like that.
Wow, you probably caught up on like 8 months of sleep doing that.
Yeah, it was amazing. Cool. All right, dude. I will probably just see you over on Discord. I'll hit you and Keenan up, and we'll get that thing checked out, and then we'll see you next week, man. Thanks for coming on.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Happy Wednesday. Later.
Hell yeah. Rock and roll. Rock.